Hello, everyone, and many thanks for your attention for joining this stream. Today is 15th of July. Now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to. And hopefully, you will find this episode informative and useful. After news segment, as always, we'll have a little or short community chat. And if you have a question, dear friends, then please use a capital Q at least before the question, so that I will see it easier while going through chat. Also, dear friends, before I start with the news segment, let me remind you that this media project is completely subscriber funded, and if you like my work, if you want to see possible further development of this project, please consider to support my work. You can do it through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal or Boosty platforms. You can use a crypto for support, and you can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on a regular basis. And during the live stream itself, you can use a super chat feature or rant feature on Rumble for donation, and also you can become a premium subscriber on Rumble. Channel is monetized on that platform, and there is such opportunity that my YouTube channel lacks, for that matter. All the links are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment, and after the stream I will pin also comment with all the links, all the addresses. Okay, that's been said, let's go through some news now, and there is quite a lot to talk about, of course. And first of all, I will start with this report that as a result of yet another terrorist attack of Kiev regime and NATO, at least 16 people were injured, civilians, by the way, in Voronezh city. We have a report from governor of the region. So 16 people were injured in a Ukrainian drone strike on Voronezh region. Governor Alexander Gusev reported on his Telegram channel, and we have a quote from him. At least at the moment, 16 people are known to have been injured as a result of their night attacks, and there was strikes during the daytime too, by the way. 15 of them were wounded in the central and Kominternovsky districts of Voronezh, including one teenager. The most common injuries are shrapnel wounds and the cut wounds, as it is usually the case when drone strikes are happening. And dear friends, I can share with you, I can share videos of this strike on my Telegram. Maybe you already have seen some of these videos. This is one of their videos, by the way. Also, another one. Let's watch it again. You can see, by the way, it's a clearly civilian apartment building, right? There is no military installations there, nothing like that. It's a civilian apartment building, and drone intentionally, targeted this particular building, right? And there is also this video with the aftermath. Terrorist attack, by the way, and I predicted that most likely these desperate so-called elites in the West and their proxies in Kiev, they will increase their terrorist activity against Russia, and that's exactly what is happening. They are absolutely intentionally targeting civilian areas, and unfortunately, there is a high risk that such attacks will further increase in coming days and weeks. Obviously, Russian military security services are doing whatever they can to protect civilians, but unfortunately, There is no air defense system in this world that can intercept 100% of their targets constantly. It's just not possible, right? Even tiny Israel is unable to achieve 100% success rate. What to say about biggest country in the world that Russia is, right? It just technically probably is impossible to cover entire country, entire airspace. So therefore, unfortunately, this kind of terrorist attacks will repeat. Although of course Russian militaries are doing whatever they can to secure people. Also, we have reports about progress of the Russian special military operation, and we have confirmation from Defense Ministry that Mayak settlement in the DPR, also Malinovka settlement in Zaporozhye, Voskresenka and Petrovka settlements in DPR have been liberated by Russian forces. And let me show you on the map, dear friends, these areas. So this is Malinovka settlement, which is under full Russian control now. Southern Donetsk sector, that's how we call this direction. Also, Voskresenka settlement, which is right on the border. You can see here with Dnipropetrovsk region, and it's liberated also. And another two settlements, by the way. This is Novospassky settlement that is under Russian control, and Russian troops are basically conducting operations to establish full control over the Sherbinovka settlement. Also, most likely in next few hours, entire this, maybe day or two, okay, entire this territory will be under Russian control, and clearing operation will finish. Significant progress of the Russian armed forces for sure. And I mean, there is Yablonovka settlement, which is also under Russian control, and the Russian troops are pushing further in this area too. So clearly, initiative is in Russian hands, by the way, and on daily basis, we are receiving more and more reports about more settlements being liberated on the line of contact. No matter how much weapons and how much money globalists and their controlled regimes gonna transfer to their proxies in Kiev, they're not gonna be able to turn the tide. By the way, they lost this proxy war against Russia, and sooner they will admit that they're better. Also, interesting news is that head of Russian General Staff Valery Zaluzhny visited, by the way, Frontline. Let me give you a video of that if I have it. I should, but okay, unfortunately, I miss on that. Okay. Just a sec, dear friends. Unbelievable. Okay, Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, Valery Gerasimov, inspected the units of the sent group of troops in the Krasnoarmeysk direction, which is a Pokrovsk direction, by the way, I believe. And whenever we are seeing high-ranking Russian military officials being presented on the front line, usually some significant activization is happening after a couple of days or weeks. So we should expect some significant activization of the Russian armed forces in DPR, maybe in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration area, maybe in somewhere else. Obviously, we will only learn about it once these operations are beginning. And of course, we have to talk about yesterday's statements that Trump made in regards to his statements about weapon supplies to Kiev regime. He issued the ultimatum, by the way. That's how Russian media took it. That's how Russian society, significant part of it, see Trump's statement. And you can see right now headline on RIA Novosti, by the way. RIA Novosti is a state-run media outlet, right? State-financed media outlet. And by tone of these media outlets, you can probably guess attitude of the Kremlin. Maybe, you know, that's just a guess, but I think informed guess. So you can have some better understanding of Moscow's or Kremlin's take on certain topics. And in this particular case, I think Kremlin also see Trump's statements as a sort of ultimatum. Let's go through some details here. So US President Donald Trump, at the meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, issued an ultimatum on a settlement in Ukraine and announced new arms deliveries to the regime. And there are key statements from Trump. We will introduce very tough duties if an agreement is not reached within 50 days. Tariffs at the level of approximately 100%. They can be called secondary tariffs, Trump said. And yet again, by the way, I watched full video of his statements in Oval Office, right, when Rutte was also presented there and some other creatures. And there was no, formally there were some journalists there, but in reality there was not a single journalist, not a real single journalist presented. Otherwise, someone would ask, right? When you are talking about introduction of this 100% tariffs and more even, do you realizing that you're gonna sanction your own people, U.S. citizens? I mean, is there even single journalist in a presidential pool in U.S. to ask, I mean, really important questions? Does Trump, this freaking idiot, realizes that he's gonna sanction his own people while introducing these tariffs? Because let's say, you know, Chinese business that sells, I don't know, microphones for $100, right? And this is a good microphones, you know, good price. When Trump will introduce 100% tariffs on Chinese goods, what this Chinese company gonna do? They will just increase price, right? They will just double price and they will sell it for $200. And still, by the way, they will be able to maintain market share. Or if it will be no longer profitable for the business to sell it to US, then they will direct this product to somewhere else, right? And who's gonna lose on that? Either American citizens gonna pay double, or they gonna lose access to their item, right? To certain good. So what these idiots are talking about, and 100%, by the way, is just a fiction, isn't it? Lindsey Graham, another war hawk and a scum of humanity, that is called senator in US somehow. His bill, by the way, is introducing 500% tariffs. So can you imagine how much these elements don't care about US citizens? They literally have no care about US citizens, by the way, because they're not going to harm China, they're not going to harm India or other Russian allies. They're not going to harm Russia itself with these tariffs. And Russia and the US have no trade, basically, right? Just a little, billion or two, maybe. So no one cares, really. They're not going to harm nobody except their own citizens. And there is no single journalist in the presidential pool in US to ask him questions about it. I mean, why you are acting tough when you are in no position to do so? Maybe enough is enough, really? Unbelievable, man. Also, a few more statements from him. Trump said that, imposition of tariffs, introduction of tariffs would not require congressional approval. So there is also two tracks, by the way. On one, Trump is talking about this 100% tariffs, and there is also this bill of Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal, whatever name is of that creature, that is about 500% tariffs, right? So eventually, theoretically speaking, these idiots may go ahead with both directions and introduce 600% tariffs, by the way, on their own citizens. That's what they're going to do, because eventually it's US citizens, they're going to pay for it, right? Also, White House is not sure about the need for a bill on the sanctions against Moscow, which is under consideration in the Senate. Yes, I mean, Trump did said that at some point, tariffs may just lose any meaning. At least he has one or two maybe more or less adequate elements in his team, and they told him that, I mean, you're just messing around really big time, right? Because at some point, these tariffs makes no sense whatsoever, right? Because yet again, either your citizens are paying or no one is just exporting nothing to your country. So you are losing in both ways, right? Trump also stated that he is very unhappy with Russia. Oh dear, man. Ukrainian deal should have been made a long time ago, but instead, it is still under discussion. You know what? A deal may be done. All US has to do is acknowledge that they lost, agree on the concessions before Russia. I think trillion or $1.5 trillion as a concessions will do, right? Apologize, and then the US can fuck off. That's it, man. Let's be real here. They lost it, right? And longer US is engaged in this proxy war against Russia, more severe consequences going to be. And if some US citizens are thinking that they're not going to feel nothing, so they don't care, well, they should think about it. They should, I don't think you want to be a Russian enemy, by the way. I don't think that's a way to go forward. It's definitely not, right? And US will pay a heavy price. Let's be real, by the way. US will pay a very heavy price for all the crimes that it committed against Russia under whichever administration, by the way. Trump, Biden, all the same bloody clowns, right? In reality, it's globalists that are in charge there. Washington remains interested in establishing a lasting peace in Ukraine. Oh, really? That's why US is sending more weapons. That they want peace, and that's why they're going to send more weapons so that more people will die and longer this conflict will continue. Morons, man. The White House hopes the situation will not escalate through tariffs. I mean, bring it on, man. We don't give a damn about your tariffs. No one really does. You want to harm your own economy, your own people, then go ahead and do it, and let's see how US citizens will react on that. Trump said also that he talks to Putin often and that the conversations are always very pleasant. Well, that's what high-class politics means, by the way, and that's what culture means, right? Trump is an uncultured freaking animal, man, and he talks like an uncultured freaking animal. But cultured, educated people do talk very differently, right? Especially when they are on high-ranking positions. And Russian politicians are demonstrating that. Politicians from China, from India, from, I don't know, any other country, by the way, that is outside of the West, do represent this knowledge, culture, and so on. But US political class is a different animal, by the way. They have no education, they have no culture, they have nothing. All they know is to brag about how tough they are. This freaking sick mentality that they constantly have to act tough. What the hell, man? Probably these people being bullied drastically, I mean, in school, and they are still under the trauma. And that's why they are acting this crazy, man. I don't know. They need psychologists or psychiatrists, Also, he said that Russia has incredible potential, including in terms of trade. You know what? We are good. Stay away from us. We don't need no trade with US. We don't need no trade, no business with the collective West, man. We are doing just fine. Just stay away from us, right? That's how it is. When it comes to weapons, by the way, US and the EU have reached agreement on the supply of American weapons to Kiev. The cost will fall on Europe, according to Trump. And rumors are that first package of this military transfer will be up to about $10 billion. NATO and the US permanent representatives to the alliance. Whitaker will coordinate the transfer of weapons. Future deliveries will include Patriot batteries, not just missiles. Some countries will transfer the Patriot air defense systems to Kiev, and the United States will replenish their arsenal with their new systems. The deal reached with Europe on arms supplies to Kiev gives a chance to conclude a peace in Ukraine. Okay, by the way, if you have watched my yesterday's live stream, I said that, if anything serious comes out from White House, from Washington, I will make second stream. I watched the video, by the way, of Trump Reuters statements, and it was just a clown show. So therefore, I did not make no second stream yesterday because they don't deserve this attention, right? I can give you some summary on that right now, and let's watch a few videos of Trump statements. I do have.
Spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war, I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it. But
and another one.
I spoke with Germany, spoke with most of the larger countries. And they are really enthusiastic about this. They want to, and they're willing to go very far. I will tell you, as per your question, how far would I go? They want to go very far. They don't want this to happen. That's why I think from Putin's standpoint, it would really be good. He gets the country's economy is doing very poorly, and he's got to get his economy back. He's got to save his economy. He could save his country in a sense. But
you see, dear friends, how poorly informed this creature is. I mean, Trump. This dirty fucking animal. He really thinks, I guess, and believes that Russian economy is doing poorly. This idiot truly thinks that Russian economy is doing poorly, man. I mean, what can I say, man? What can I say about it? Right? How are you going to deal with these idiots, man? How? What is the point of talking to these morons? There is no point in that, isn't it? Really. So okay, man, enough of this garbage. Let's continue with some other news. Unfortunately, this war will continue longer because US, unlike other NATO member states, does have a relatively large stockpile of different weapon systems. He was talking about Patriots because he wants to mislead the public in US, right? As if US is transferring only defensive weapon systems, while in reality, according to media reports, US will send ATACMS missiles. Washington Post, for example, is reporting about that. Also, reports are that Trump will send most likely JASSM cruise missiles that in certain variations have range up to 800 kilometers, even 1,000 kilometers. So this is definitely not the defensive missiles, right? Defensive weapon systems. These are offensive weapon systems. So under the Trump, US is getting involved even deeper in this proxy war against Russia. Instead of pulling US out of this proxy war, opposite is happening, and that's why many, at this point, probably majority of America First people in US are extremely disappointed with the Trump, right? And probably they would not be sorry if Trump will resign right now, not just for criminal actions against Russia, but also because he is on an Epstein list, right? According to Elon Musk. And we have good reasons to believe that this is the case because Trump and his administration is covering up that Epstein case, right? All that story. So probably MAGA people would not be sorry if Trump will resign right now and JD Vance will take office, right? That will serve US citizens better. Personal opinion, by the way. And maybe this is going to happen. Maybe eventually in a couple of months' time, maybe a little longer, but eventually this is going to happen. Trump not gonna serve all 4 years of his presidency. It's not happening, right? When it comes to these weapon systems, offensive weapon systems that Kyiv regime is about to receive, obviously Russian militaries will deal with it. Unfortunately, NATO will harm Russia because some of these weapon systems probably would not be neutralized. Some majority will, but not all, and of course we will have casualties as a result of this escalation from the US. But yet again, they're not going to be able to turn the tide. That's what is very important to keep in mind, right? They're not going to turn the tide, and they're not going to force Russia to do anything, really. They are in no position to talk to Russia with ultimatums, by the way. Neither Trump, neither this freaking schizophrenic, by the way, this Reuter or whatever his freaking name is. None of them, by the way, are in a position to talk to Russia with their ultimatums. And why Trump is talking about 50 days? Why not 53, 55, 75, 82? I mean, what the hell, man? I cannot talk seriously about these morons, man. Unfortunately, they are representing countries, right? They are formally, at least, in charge, although we all know that in reality, US being run from the shadows, right? And these presidents, they're just actors, acting. That's all, and signing on whatever orders they're being given. When it comes to Patriots itself, delivery of Patriot systems to Ukraine will take months, according to Pistorius, another one more warmonger from NATO, from Germany to be more precise. The delivery of the Patriot systems to Kyiv will take months after the reaching agreement with the United States, said German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. And this criminal, by the way, I mean, we don't give a damn about Patriots, of course, but this criminal then went to say that Germans are ready to kill Russians. And you know what? My grandfather's generation also had heard something like that, right? And then, unfortunately, then Germans began killing Russians, right? Soviet people. And then my grandfather's generation smashed their freaking faces. And unfortunately, some of them survived, right? Some of them survived, those Nazi freaking animals. And they are now in charge in Germany again, right? And they're again threatening to kill Russians. But when it comes to Trump's ultimatums, by the way, Medvedev commented on that and basically laughed at it, right? The statements by US leader Donald Trump on July 14, represents decorative ultimatum to Moscow, which it did not even notice, which Russia did not even notice, wrote Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev on X. So yes, I mean, he laughed at US president and his ultimatum, and that's the attitude, by the way, in general, right? Those morons not gonna threaten us, not gonna intimidate us, man. It's just not possible. It's just humanly not possible, right? You cannot intimidate us, man. We will take care of you one way or another. And yet again, unfortunately, Western societies decided to go along with the criminal actions of their own elites. And well, when they will see receipt, should not be surprised. Should not be surprised or upset, by the way. RT is also reporting that Kremlin spoke about these weapon deliveries to Kyiv regime also, and well, Moscow's position is that US weapon supplies to Ukraine never actually stopped. That's exactly what I was talking about. But it was all deception, by the way. all these talks that there was a pause in U.S. weapon supplies and some supplies were stopped and this and that. All that was deception, by the way. It never happened, right? So U.S. weapon deliveries to Ukraine have continued uninterrupted despite the reports of funding gaps and political wrangling. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has stated he told the reporters on Monday that shipments of weapons, munition, and military equipment from the U.S. have continued and are continuing, which is true, by the way. I was saying that this is exactly the case, and no one should fail for this deception and disinformation that is coming from leaders, by the way, from leaders of the Western countries, including the U.S. And Trump already demonstrated, by the way, that he is lying more often than not, but in some cases, maybe because he is just a chronicle liar, right? Probably he would not give you explanation why he is lying. That's their mentality that he says he has to lie constantly. But in certain cases, he's lying intentionally when he understands that he is lying, right? That was the case when U.S. allegedly was engaged in talks with Iran. And I said allegedly because it was not real talks. It was a deception operation. And now we know this for sure. So many media outlets reported about it. Israeli officials confirmed this information, right? So Trump was intentionally lying. He was using diplomacy as a mean of deception, right? And he and his defense secretary, they were also lying when they were talking about this pause in weapon supplies to Kyiv regime. There was no pause, by the way. There was no pause. These rumors began day before Trump called the Russian president, and it was a clear deception because probably they were thinking, these idiots, that they might have some leverage in a conversation with Putin if they will say, I mean, we just stop weapon supplies. Do they understand that Russia has intelligence and Russia knows perfectly well from where, what volume and what type of weapons being shipped to the regime? Unbelievable, man. Right? So, well, finally, Kremlin end this whole topic while saying that there was no pause in U.S. weapons supplies. Also, what is interesting, dear friends, that on Axios, there was a, let me show you. I don't know if you can read on your screen, but Axios come up with an article in which this media outlet claimed that during the last conversation between Russian president and U.S. President Donald Trump, allegedly, Russian president told him that in next 60 days, Russia will make new efforts to basically liberate territories up to the administrative borders of Ukrainian regions, where Russia has significant positions, and we may speculate, obviously, was this report true from Axios or not? If so, then which regions Russian president was talking about? And right now, by the way, when it comes to formerly Ukrainian regions, Russian troops are presented in the Sumy region, Kharkov region, I mean, big time. And also, relatively recently, about months ago, Russian troops began liberating operations in the Dnipropetrovsk region too. So, I mean, well, did Russian president even shared with Trump or anything when it comes to Russian military planning? I don't think so. But that's what Axios is saying. But if this report is true, then probably we should expect, in that case, significant activization of the Russian operations in these three regions, at least in Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkov, and Sumy regions. Although I have doubts, by the way, I have doubts that Russia will focus on these regions now instead of liberating whatever is still under control of Kyiv regime's forces in the Kherson region, in Zaporozhye region, and in DPR, for example, that are part of Russia, right? These are Russian new regions. So I don't know. I don't know what is their Axios's sources and why this information being published. Axios is reporting about 60 days, and Trump's ultimatum is about 50 days, right? I mean, in 50 days, some agreement should be reached. Otherwise, tariffs are coming, as if anybody cares. So I don't know. Maybe behind their closed doors, there are some agreements even between Kremlin and the White House. Is that a possibility? I'm speculating, by the way. I'm speculating now. Obviously, I cannot know. But that's the report. That's the report that, for whatever reason, according to Axios, Russian president told Trump, and then Trump shared this information with Emmanuel Macron, French president, that in next 60 days, Russia will activate its military operations in Ukrainian regions and where Russian troops are, present. And these Ukrainian regions, formerly Ukrainian for now, is the Kharkov region, Sumy region, and Dnipropetrovsk region. So let's see. By the way, maybe we're gonna see some really large-scale Russian offensive operation all along the front line that will include not just these three formerly Ukrainian regions, but also new Russian regions, Kherson, Zaporozhye, and DPR. We will see. Something to think about, but yet again, I find it difficult to believe that Russian president would share with Trump any information about military planning. I mean, it makes no sense, right? It makes no sense. Maybe a Russian president just, troll Trump in a way. I don't know. But that's what media is reporting, dear friends. All right. And also, we have this report, as I said, by the way. I mean, Germany is again under control of these freaking Nazis, right? And extreme Russia haters that want to kill everybody in Russia. We remember, we know, we may not remember personally, but we know that not that far in the past, Germany also was under leadership of such people that wanted to kill everybody, right? In Russia, and not just in Russia. So German troops are prepared to kill Russians if Moscow attacks a NATO member. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has suggested, why you are talking about killing Russians, man? What is wrong with you? I mean, why you are using this language? Is it normal, by the way, to talk like that? That we're gonna kill Russians, we're gonna kill them and that? It's not normal, isn't it? It's sickening, actually, right? So in an interview with the Financial Times published on Sunday, Pistorius stressed that the German forces, some of whom have recently been redeployed to Lithuania, would not hesitate to take little actions if necessary. If the deterrence does not work and Russia attacks, is it going to happen? Yes, Pistorius said, but I would recommend that you simply go to Vilnius and talk to the representatives of the German brigade there. They know exactly what their job is. According to Pistorius, any talk about peace and the tender could only be possible on equal terms and from a position of strength. Okay, Germany, you want to learn some lessons again, right? And we will organize that. That's all I can say for now, right? And if it comes to direct war between Russia and NATO troops, by the way, trust me, Russian troops not gonna operate in the way that they are operating in regards to Ukrainian troops, man. I mean, these German troops in Lithuania or wherever, none of them gonna survive, literally, none of them. They will beg to surrender, and they might not get such an opportunity. During the Second World War, rumors are that Romanian troops and Hungarian troops that were fighting alongside Nazi Germany were not taken prisoner. Very rarely, Romanian and Hungarian troops were taken as a POWs. You know why? Because of the horrendous crimes that they were committing, by the way, against civilians. So troops were hesitant. Russian troops were hesitant to take them as a prisoners of the war. They were basically neutralized on the spot. And that's what will happen with German troops. You know, if it comes to fight, you will get no mercy, man. These European so-called elites are so delusional, man. So delusional, man. They're gonna destroy their own countries, man. That's what is going to happen. They talk tough, right? And probably they do believe that they have some upper hand in regards to Russia, and they can defeat Russia. Probably they really believe in this nonsense, right? And because of it, they might actually go ahead with their further provocations, and eventually they might actually provoke response from Russia, and this response is going to be merciless, just merciless. And it is so tragic, by the way, that societies, neither in Germany or in any other NATO country, are in so deep sleep, by the way, that, I mean, it's not even possible probably to wake them up. I mean, no matter how much you will talk to them, you would not be able to wake them up, you know? And therefore, these so-called elites in the West are unchallenged. No one is challenging them. No one is even trying to stop them, with the exception of a tiny minority that is well-informed and understands that West is heading towards a total disaster. But this tiny minority is not influential, by the way. They can do nothing, really, at this point. But language, by the way, the German troops, why you are, okay, any troops are ready to, use little force. That's what their job is, right? But to go ahead and talk like that, German troops are ready to kill Russian soldiers. What the hell, man? Why are you being this specific? I don't get it, man. When Germans are talking about killing Russians, by the way, that's just next level of madness, man. RIA Novosti is reporting also that Kremlin response on Pistorius' statements on killing of Russians and Russian soldiers. The statement by German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius about his readiness to kill Russian soldiers are difficult to understand. Russian Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov told RBK. It's hard to believe that the German Defense Minister would say something like that, but he is saying that, right? Kremlin spokesman added that Germany has become increasingly dangerous lately. And yet again, Peskov is also on the same page. Why would you go this specific to say that, you are ready to kill Russians, man, Russian soldiers or Russians? Why are you being this specific? Are you sick or what? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And, things going to escalate. And Germany probably will have to learn some lessons again. And Russia can help with that, for sure. And Berlin is preparing, by the way. They know that while with constant escalations, at some point they're going to trigger a Russian response, right? And they are afraid. They are not this bold, by the way. They are trying to act bold, but they do know that Russia can smash Germany in hours time, literally in hours time, right? And it's not going to be war with conventional weapons, by the way. No one should think that, well, Russia will not use its extreme force if necessary to deal with these NATO member states, man. We will obliterate them, literally, right? Incinerate in nuclear fire. And they know it, and that's why Germany is seeking 2,000-kilometer range US missile launchers. So Germany has asked her to purchase Typhoon medium-range missile launchers from the US aim tensions with Russia over Ukraine, the defense minister Boris Pistorius has said Typhoon deployments would have been banned under the new defunct 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Pistorius confirmed on Monday that Berlin had sent Washington a formal request to buy the Typhoon systems, which can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles and their SM-6 multi-role missiles. So the Typhoon has an operational range of around 2,000 kilometers and could reach targets far beyond Moscow if fired from German territory. And well, Moscow is watching, by the way. Moscow is watching, and as I said, man, with every escalatory step that NATO is making, we are getting closer and closer to the point when Russian president gonna say, enough is enough. Let's teach them a lesson now, and that's gonna be end of NATO. That's gonna be end of many NATO member states. Literally, I mean, states gonna just disappear, right? If they want that, we don't want this to happen. Clearly, I mean, Russian president is exercising restraint like no one else would, and at this point, literally, probably nobody understands. Nobody understands what kind of nerves Russian president has that he is still able to, maintain this restraint. I mean, but everything that has its beginning has its end too, and I guess at some point, even Russian president gonna say that. I mean, let's just deal with these elements with the language, with the only language that they understand, which is a force, by the way, right? They clearly want it, by the way, right? They are seeking war with Russia. And they might get it, They might actually get it, and no one then, in that case, should complain in Europe, by the way, or in the collective West that, well, they've been smashed. Well, you ask for it, right? RIA Novosti is reporting that Zelensky appoints new prime minister. There is a reshuffle in this Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev. So Vladimir Zelensky proposed the deputy prime minister and minister of economy, Yulia Sviridenko, to lead the government. Also, reports are coming in that current defense minister, so-called minister, Umerov will leave his position and become ambassador into US, and Shmigal, current prime minister, will take his position as a defense minister. This is at this point still on the level of rumors, but maybe this is going to happen. Don't know. Does it make any difference really in global scale? No. Who cares, man? RT Meanwhile is reporting that U.S. investors take over key Ukrainian Black Sea grain hub. So U.S. investors have taken over the key export facility at Ukraine's port of Odessa after winning a lengthy court battle with its previous owners. The Financial Times reports on Monday the Olympex grain terminal is one of Ukraine's largest, with an annual capacity of 5 million tons. Okay, by the way, this U.S. company will be left with nothing when Odessa will be liberated, because U.S. companies have no business on Russian land, man. And Odessa is a Russian city, and it's a Russian land, right? So it will be better for these so-called investors to pack up their bags and then to fuck off while they can. That's it. That's it, man. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, U.S. citizen, by the way, something nice from U.S. or in regards to U.S. citizen who helped liberate Kurakhova was given a Russian passport. I reported about this person at the time when he was evacuated, by the way, from Kiev-controlled territory, actually. So American Daniel Martindale, who helped Moscow during their Second World, this translation is so bad. who helped Russian troops in special military operation, was given a Russian passport. We have a quote from Denis Pushilin. He handed a Russian passport to him. I have the honor today to personally present a passport of the citizen of the Russian Federation to Daniel Martindale, who has long since proven with his loyalty and actions that he is one of us. For us, this is a sign of respect and gratitude for what Daniel has done. Said the head of DPR, Denis Pushilin, the ceremony took place at the Republic's representative office in Moscow. And by the way, this person, Daniel Martindale, was helping Russia with intelligence while being on Kiev-controlled territory since 2022, by the way. And at one point, Russian special forces went in. That was happening in Kurakhova direction to basically secure his life and to evacuate him, right? So he definitely deserved, by the way, Russian passport, no doubts about that. And when it comes to relationships between the ordinary people, you know my take, by the way. Elites or political class in US or in any other Western country, by the way, definitely don't deserve no respect whatsoever. They are enemies of Russia, enemies of Russian people. But when it comes to ordinary citizens there, I don't see them as enemies, and I'm really sorry that majority of them sees me as an enemy, right? And all the Russians, they hate us. It's sad. It's sad, but that's what propaganda does, by the way. I mean, they've been told that, they've been indoctrinated, by the way, with Russia hatred. That's all, man. When they've been told 24/7 that they have to hate Russia, that's what they do eventually. Unfortunate. But thanks God, not all of them are brainwashed, by the way. Thanks God, not all of them are brainwashed. And therefore, there is a hope, isn't it? There is a hope that maybe someday in the future, our countries will actually have good relationships. I don't know. So yes, well done that this U.S. national is becoming a Russian citizen. Great, he definitely deserved that. And also, RIA Novosti is reporting that NATO is preparing to involve Moldova in their conflict with Russia, according to SVR, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service. So the North Atlantic Alliance wants to use Chisinau, we call it Chisinau, by the way, capital of Moldova, in the conflict with Moscow. For the Foreign Intelligence Service press office stated, according to information received by the SVR, NATO is actively preparing to involve Moldova in a possible armed conflict with Russia. Decision was made in Brussels to accelerate the transformation of this country into a forward bridgehead of the alliance on their eastern flank, taking into account the advance of the Russian armed forces in Ukraine, department reported. And when it comes to Moldova, by the way, I said many times before that this country only has like a couple of, this quasi-state, by the way, it's not even a real state. This quasi-state only has like a few years left to exist, and it will undergo full-scale disintegration. This is absolutely inevitable. Some parts of Moldova will join Romania, because people there see themselves as Romanians, by the way. So therefore, if they think that they are Romanians and they want to join Romania or become part of Romania, then that's people's choice, right? So let's be so. But there is other groups in Moldova, also other people, by the way. Gagauz people, for example, that have autonomous region right now. They don't want to be Romanians. They don't see themselves as Romanians. They see themselves as a Gagauz people, right? It's only Turkic speaking people, by the way, that are Orthodox Christians. I mean, some interesting nuance there. And Gagauz people want to have great relationships with Russia, right? They don't want to be part of Romania. And there are also other groups, by the way, in Moldova that see themselves as a part of Russian world. And therefore, I'm saying that Gagauzia at some point, some other territories of Moldova, together with the Transnistria, will eventually probably will either join Russian Federation or will separate themselves from Moldova, declaring independence, possibly, right? But other parts of Moldova eventually will join Romania. So this country, under such a name, Moldova, by the way, only has left like a couple of years. Then full-scale disintegration, and that's about it, right? And I just remind you, dear friends, that Moldova was created by Stalin, basically, right? He took this territory from Romania after Second World War and created Moldova, Moldavian Soviet Socialist Republic. So, yeah, Romania get hit hard, by the way, for its participation in a war against Russia. And Romania lost quite a lot of territories, quite a lot of people, by the way. Entire armies, Romanian armies, were decimated by Russian forces. And as I said, by the way, according to reports that I have seen, Russian troops, Soviet troops, by the way, during the Second World War, have no mercy in regards to SS divisions of Nazi Germany, due to their cruelty towards civilians, and also they had no mercy against the Romanian and Hungarian troops that were also very cruel, by the way, towards civilians. Ordinary units of Wehrmacht, they were cruel too, but not as cruel, by the way, as SS divisions and Hungarian and Romanian troops. That's some historical notice there. So yes, Moldova, of course, not NATO is using Moldova now against Russia and will continue to use, but eventually this former Soviet republic will undergo full-scale disintegration, and some parts will probably go either independent or will join Russia. Other part probably will, not probably, most definitely will join Romania. And also interesting report that Russian troops roll into Uzbekistan for their Hamikorlik 2025 drills after tough mountain journey. And let me show you, by the way, some video on that. Yesterday, in the Q&A part, one member of our community did ask me a question if Russia has capability to move significant forces into Southern Caucasus direction, and I said that Russian armed forces always have capabilities for rapid deployment of significant number of troops in any direction, Southern Caucasus, Central Asia, and so on. And late yesterday, I saw this report, by the way, with the Russian troop deployments for exercises, and let me show you that actually confirmed what I said earlier, right? And let me show you a short video of this rapid deployment of the troops. At any given point, by the way, Russian army most likely are capable to deploy 500,000 to 700,000 troops in any direction at any given point, while another probably 500,000 troops, 700,000 troops are engaged with rotations and so on in a special military operation. But there is a massive, colossal reserve also, right? And can be deployed in any direction if order comes, right? And so this information about these exercises in Uzbekistan confirms that Russia deployed some troops there to participate in this training mission. Also, interesting report, by the way, that Armenia denies U.S. bid to take over the strategic Zangezur corridor. Armenia has firmly denied any talks with the United States regarding the lease or transfer of control over the Zangezur corridor, a critical strip of land connecting Azerbaijan to its Nakhichevan exclave bordering Turkey. Armenia has not discussed and is not discussing the transfer of control over its sovereign territory to any third-party said Nazeli Bagdasaryan, press secretary of the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. And well, this statement is a response on reports in a number of media outlets that US allegedly has reached agreement with Yerevan to take control over the Zangezur corridor, which is causing significant issues in the relationship between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And if Azerbaijan one way or another will not get this corridor or opportunity to have a connection with the Nakhichevan autonomous region, then probably if this would not be done in political terms, then probably Azerbaijan will go ahead and use force, military force, to do so. And that's why I guess probably US is engaged in these talks, and probably Yerevan did agree to lease this Zangezur corridor to US, right? Probably this is the case. And yesterday, by the way, Trump also spoke about Azerbaijan and Armenia. I'm quite sure he has no idea where these republics are located. He would not be able to find them on the map for sure, but he had a paper. If you notice yesterday's video, he had a paper in his hand and he was reading from there, right? So probably, despite the statement of press secretary of the Pashinyan, probably some agreement was actually reached, and US will overtake this Zangezur corridor, or otherwise, maybe war is about to begin between these two countries, one way or another. But I don't think it is random stuff that Trump had this paper or notice in his hand yesterday while he was talking about threatening Russia and intimidating Russia and sending weapons against Russia. I mean, at one point he spoke about Azerbaijan and Armenia. So let's see what is going to happen there, by the way. Let's see. RT is also reporting that one of their prominent voices in the MAGA movement, Bannon, warns of electoral catastrophe for Republicans. So Republicans could lose 40 US House seats and the presidency if the backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein case continues to divide the MAGA base. President Donald Trump's former chief strategist Steve Bannon has warned on their campaign trail. Trump repeatedly promised to declassify files related to case of later financier and registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In February, Attorney General Pam Bondi said that a list of Epstein clients was sitting on her desk. Last week, although the Justice Department released a memo claiming that no client list exists and that no evidence has been found to justify the investigation of uncharged third parties. Memo has triggered outrage among Trump supporters, with accusations that their administration has failed to deliver transparency. Bannon warned during the podcast last week that the fallout could erode 10% of MAGA support. If we lose 10% of MAGA movement right now, we are going to lose 40 seats in 26. We are going to lose their presidency, he said. So he's talking about midterm elections, isn't it? And Republicans gonna get smashed in midterm elections for sure. Trump already done tremendous damage to MAGA movement. Trump and his administration, by the way, they damage MAGA movement tremendously. None of them have any trust, or none of them should have any trust, by the way. And many Republicans are turning their back on them because they are realizing that these are fake people, by the way. Trump and his team. Including Kesh Patel and Bongino and Bondi and all of them. They are fake, right? They are fake. They are covering up this Epstein case. They cannot be trusted, and therefore Democrats, globalists, let's say, gonna have massive win, by the way. Massive win in midterm elections, and they already have a huge win, by the way, because MAGA movement lost the White House. MAGA movement, and let's acknowledge this, Make America Great Again people, or America First people, they lost control over the White House, even though formally they have a president there, but it's not their president. It's a puppet of globalists, right? And with yesterday, with his actions in regards to this Epstein files, he's proving that he's a puppet of globalists, because who are those rich and powerful, by the way, that were on that list? On that Epstein list. Who are those rich and powerful? Globalists, allies of the globalists. One of their elements were, by the way, British prince or something. Am I correct? And which force is the main force in the globalist movement? It's European aristocracies, right? European royal families, European aristocracies, and among them, most powerful is a British royal family and British aristocracy. We all know this, right? So MAGA people already lost, by the way, big time. They lost Washington, they lost White House, and I don't know, what can I say, man? What can I say? They're gonna probably they lost chance to reclaim their country. That's what happened, brother. And what about yesterday's statements of Trump? If anybody had any doubts that Trump is a puppet of globalists, then what about yesterday when he, under orders of globalists, began issuing ultimatums to Russia and announcing transfer of weapons on billions and billions and billions to prolong this war against Russia? So there is no questions, no more, by the way, in regards to Trump, his administration. That these are globalist puppets. So, one may say sorry. One may say that, it's a sorry that MAGA people lost, or America First people lost, because if they would reclaim their country, maybe that will benefit not just the citizens of US, but even the world, by the way, because normal America that is run by normal people will definitely be a good thing, right? But it's not happening, man. Not happening. Unfortunately, US citizens will never be able to reclaim their country. Never. Sorry to say so, but share your take, dear friends. Do American citizens, or do US citizens have real chances to reclaim their own country? I mean, realistic chances. No, they didn't, right? Meanwhile, dear friends, RT is reporting that Xi Jinping, Chinese leader, pledges deeper partnership with Russia. So Chinese President Xi Jinping has reaffirmed plans to further strengthen strategic ties with Russia during a meeting with the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Tuesday. The Foreign Ministry in Moscow has stated talks took place ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Ministers Council season in Tianjin. Xi praised the state of Russo-Chinese relations, confirming his commitment to expanding their countries' comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation. He also welcomed their upcoming visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin, describing their relationships with Russian counterpart as a long-standing and good friendship. Xi and Lavrov discussed several key international and regional topics, although the Russian Foreign Ministry did not provide specifics. They also addressed bilateral political contacts, including preparations for Putin's visit to China. Putin is expected to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization heads of State Council meeting on September 1st, the organization's top decision-making body, and joint events on September 3rd, marking the 80th anniversary of the victory over Japan in World War II, which is greatly celebrated in China, obviously, and should be celebrated worldwide, of course. right? So great news, great news. While US, under the leadership of these globalist puppets in the White House and in Washington, is distancing itself from rest of the world, right? And basically pushing collective West in general towards their further isolation from rest of the world. Russia and China, Russia and other countries in this world, many other countries in this world are getting closer and closer, and improving partnerships, increasing partnership, which is great. That's how it's supposed to be, right? And as I said, it's not just Russian-Chinese relationships, but relationships inside the BRICS member states, by the way, inside all the other organizations that are not controlled by the globalists. I mean, relationships are improving, between member states, and we have this report on that India-Chinese relations gradually moving in a positive direction, according to India's foreign minister, legendary foreign minister Jai Shankar. So relations between New Delhi and Beijing have been gradually moving in a positive direction over the last 9 months. Indian foreign minister Jai Shankar told his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Monday. Jai Shankar, who is in China for a meeting of the foreign ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, told Wang that their progress was a result of resolving tensions along the border and their ability to maintain peace there. Since our leaders' meeting in Kazan in October 2024, when there was a BRICS summit, by the way, India-China relationships has been gradually moving in a positive direction. The Indian foreign minister said our responsibility is to maintain that momentum, and this is good news, by the way. This is good news because India, of course, in my personal opinion, number one strategic partner for Russia. I'm not talking about Belarus. Belarus and Russia, I mean, this is a whole different story, by the way. We have a confederation, actually. Many people are maybe don't even know that we have a confederation, sort of, Russia and Belarus. So Belarus, of course, is a different story. Obviously, it's the closest, right? But when it comes to global politics, India is, of course, in my personal opinion, number one strategic partner, and should be seen as such always. And China is also, by the way, strategic partner of the Russian Federation. And it is good that New Delhi and Beijing are managing to, maybe little by little, step by step, but improve relationships, because we need this. We need India and China to be on good terms with each other, by the way. Emerging multipolar world needs this, right? So some good news. Jai Shankar is not a politician that will say something for no reason. This is one of the few heavyweights, by the way, when it comes to foreign ministers in this world. Definitely a legendary foreign minister. And if he is saying that there is a progress in a relationship, that means there is a progress in relationships. It's factual. And this is great, right? Also, interesting news that is connected with India too, that demand grows for Brahmos missiles. Indian defense minister is saying, so around 15 nations have shown an interest in buying long-range Brahmos supersonic cruise missiles. The country's defense minister, Rajnath Singh, has stated the weapons were successfully used by India during its military confrontation with Pakistan in May. Speaking at the event on Sunday, Singh praised the outstanding role that Brahmos missiles played in the conflict, which India codenamed Operation Sindoor. During the Operation Sindoor, Brahmos missiles achieved their miraculous feat. Now around 15 countries want to have these missiles, Singh said. Missiles are manufactured by Brahmos Aerospace, an Indian-Russian joint venture named after the Brahmaputra and Moskva rivers. India's Defense Research and Development Organization has a 50.5% stake in the company, while Russian NPO Mashinostroyenie holds 49.5%. in shares. Brahmos missiles, along with the Russian manufactured S-400s, played an important role in defending Indian air bases and their other military installations against Pakistani strikes during the four-day conflict in May. And great news, by the way, great news. As I said, in my personal opinion, India is number one strategical partner for Russian Federation. I think so. And one look at the global map will give you a great, deal of understanding why I think so. Right? On north is Russia. On south it's India. In middle, among other countries, there is a China. Right? So obviously, we all need to be on a great terms when it comes to relationships, and India is a great country, by the way, strategical partner of Russian Federation, and any success of India I see as a success of Russia too, right? Stronger India is getting better for this world, 100%, by the way. So good news here, and one more demonstration of successful cooperation between Russia and India. There is many other fields where cooperation is taking place, and the military industrial complex is definitely one of them. So good on that. And I will end news segment, dear friends, on this news that EU prepares retaliatory duties on US goods worth 72 billion euros. So the European Council has presented EU countries with their list of 72 billion worth of US goods for the introduction of trade tariffs in response to a US decision to impose 30% tariffs on all EU exports from August 1st. This was announced by European Commissioner for Trade Maros Sefcovic at the press conference following a meeting of EU Foreign Affairs and Trade Ministers. And well, this is quite a weak response, isn't it, from EU? And this is not to be surprised, because EU is in no position to deal with US, by the way, right? EU is definitely not in a position to give a good fight when it comes to this trade war to US. They cannot. They can come up with some cosmetic stuff to create this fake image that they are acting tough, and look, we responded to US tariffs and stuff, but in reality they can do nothing. They can do nothing. US, they can, and they said, 30% on all goods, we don't give a damn, right? And what EU is doing, EU is a disgrace, right? So and probably they will eventually they will beg Washington to drop these 30% tariffs, by the way. They're going to do it. They're going to beg Washington. Right? I don't think it will work because clearly US administration and forces that are behind it, clearly they want the industrialization of Europe to accelerate, because that's the basically only way US can reindustrialize itself, right, on expense of Europe and their collective West in general, mainly Europe. So therefore, there can be no compromises on that, right? And this is it for news segment, dear friends. Hopefully you find this news segment interesting, useful, entertaining, maybe. Right? I guess there was no super chat during the stream on Rumble. Otherwise, Anya would told me. Let's scroll now chat for any possible questions. Commentary from the ancient wound. Russians should not wait for the Germans, be proactive. Well, I mean, Russia not going to strike first, by the way, right? But Russia will respond. I think so. That's how it's gonna play out. And unfortunately, we are getting very close to point when direct clashes between Russian and NATO troops will become reality. Questions. Alexander G is commenting JSSM and ATACMS. That would be the same escalation Biden did November 19 last year. Yes, I mean, US is full in, by the way, in this war. Trump's administration, they were messing around, right? They were fooling people, by the way, in US, that they are against wars and they are focused on America first and that kind of stuff. And they fool people successfully. I mean, tens of millions of people, actually, right? Because I guess Republican base and even some independents and potentially some Democrats even did believe in that, right? And voted for Trump, and they, you know, and more of these people now openly saying that they've been misled and they are disappointed. But it is what it is, you know. US is all in this war. That's why I'm saying MAGA lost White House. If there was any illusions that Trump is a MAGA, then no, man. He's not America first. He's himself first, right? And if globalists are in the position to dictate him what he will do and what he will say, then that's how it's gonna be, right? And you think, is it not possible that all this story around Epstein is a tool of blackmail in hands of globalists and their Zionist allies? You know, they have Trump in their hands, by the way. They will force him to do whatever they want, literally whatever they want, right? Zionists use blackmail to force Trump to bomb Iran, by the way, and globalists are using blackmail to order Trump to send more weapons to prolong this war against Russia, right? It is what it is, man. I'm scrolling chat now, dear friends, looking for potential questions. Sorry if I miss your question, but yet again, I mean, capital Q before the question will make it easier. Don Zugar is commenting, do you think that perhaps somebody has dumped huge quantities into the German water supply? This might explain the mass insanity taking hold in Deutschland. I don't know, man, what's happening in Germany. I don't get it, right? It's sad. It's just sad, man. It's just sad that this country of great culture and their great history is become just a tool of the globalists, man, and is going to be sacrificed, right? Again, it's sad, man, but propaganda works, you know. People being brainwashed, by the way, you know. Do you see yesterday conversation between that Trump and Rutte had, they were lying, right? On several instances, they were intentionally lying, right? And there was no journalist in that room to challenge them. And therefore, whoever watches those lies and listens those lies and reads those lies day in, day out, after some time, they are beginning to believe in that, right? And the majority of the societies in the collectivist countries are living in this fake world, right? Which is literally fake, right? Nothing they think is true, actually. Nothing that they think is true in their fake world is actual true. So I don't know what happened. I mean, it's a propaganda, man. That's what happened. It's a propaganda, right? Propaganda does brainwash people on such levels that, and hate, by the way, they hate everything Russian. Majority. I mean, if you go on the streets here, by the way, in Russia, in any city, by the way, and do some social study, right? Ask questions, or if people have some negative attitude towards any society, they will see that maybe from first 100% that you will matter, probably one, will say some crazy stuff. Rest, by the way, will say, no, we don't spend time on freaking hate, man. We don't hate no one, right? We might be very critical of Western elites, because it's elites, right, that are hostile and they're constantly trying to harm us. But when it comes to people, ordinary people, why should we hate them, man? Even if they're being brainwashed, and even if they, they've been indoctrinated in Russia hate, why should we respond in the same manner? It's not okay to be full of hate, right? It's just not normal. It harms you. But in the West, I mean, I don't know in which country you are, Don Zugar, but if you just ask first 10 people that you will meet today to say anything about Russia, probably majority, 6, 7 people will say something negative, while none of them probably ever had any negative treatment from Russia. But they will have negative attitude towards us just because they've been told to, right? By propaganda means. It is what it is, man. And dear friends, I guess this is it. Funny comment, by the way. Anecdote. I missed the question. Okay, I will try to find it now. Okay. There is no question. What? I see now. Thank you. Anya, my wife, is helping me. So question from Nathan Dunninger. Levan, what would be the best way to deter the West from continuing this war against Russia? We have to win, by the way. That's the best way. And we are winning, and we will finish the job. Right, and after that, at some point, Western so-called elites will have no option but to acknowledge that they lost. Right, we will we will achieve submission of the West. They will submit, and that's going to be biggest and most effective deterrent when they will know that no matter what they're going to do, they're not going to defeat Russia. So therefore, there is only military. Excuse me. So therefore, this conflict, this crisis, Ukrainian crisis, or this has only military solution. There is no diplomatic solution there. We have to go all the way, and that means probably to liberate whole territory of this former Soviet Republic, with the exception of Western Ukraine, which used to be part of Poland and then some other NATO member states, Eastern European NATO member states. So Western Ukraine eventually will be reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, Romania, and will become part of NATO, right? But rest of the Ukraine is definitely going to be liberated, by the way. That's how it's going to end, and that will be biggest deterrent in the future, because at one point, globalists and their puppets in regimes all over the West, they will have no option but to acknowledge that they are in no position to dictate anything to Russia. They will just acknowledge that they lost. They only understand language of force, and okay, then Russia will go ahead and do whatever is necessary. And I'm not talking about deploying some extreme force, by the way. No, with conventional weapons, right? So therefore, this conflict most likely will continue for another, I don't know, couple of years maybe. And eventually, with the exception of western parts of Ukraine, all the other territories will be liberated and will become either part of Russia completely, excuse me, or maybe Kiev and a few regions around will maintain quasi-statehood. Okay, dear friends, I have to end this live stream now. My apologies. I get cold a few days ago, and you see aftermath. Okay, dear friends, thank you very much for your attention. Have a wonderful day, and take care.